Good morning, everybody. This is Charles Namey, and this is our small mastermind, real estate mastermind group. And today we have a special presentation by one of our own, Vlad McDowell, and he has a news to tell us about how to find the money to buy a house. And with that, I'll turn it over to Vlad.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Vlad McDowell. I've been a licensed realtor in Texas for 4 years. Prior to that, I was actually in the mortgage industry for 7 years before the market crashed. So I have a little bit of experience working on both sides of the real estate transaction. But today I wanted to talk to you guys with just some encouraging news. I'm not sure where you are in your business and what kind of feedback or hurdles you've been overcoming. But typically, we're seeing across the board where most buyers are faced with an affordability issue. So I just wanted to tell you that if you're struggling with getting your buyers over the fence because of fear of the unknown or affordability issues, there is actually sources that you can actually explore that will actually help you to come up with additional funding so your buyers can actually close on their homes. One of the more underrated or overlooked methods of coming up with funding is looking at your state's down payment assistance programs, whereas in prior years, many mortgage brokers or lenders would probably shy away from doing this. I see a lot more lenders actually utilizing the down payment assistance programs that are being offered through the state. There are funds available. Many of us really don't know of them or where to find them, but there is a minimum credit score requirement. There is an income score requirement, and sometimes they have to sit through like a really small class. This is usually something that the lender has to apply for on the behalf of the borrower. So if you have your MLS may actually have a link where you can actually explore those down payment assistance programs. And if your borrower is short on funds, they may be able to qualify for this down payment assistance in the form of either forgivable or non-forgivable sums of money that they can use towards their down payment. I used to see it go as high as 5%, but I'm seeing like about 3 or 4% of the purchase price is what they can qualify for. And that could really make a difference in that person getting into the home or not, if they do qualify. So bring it up, have them talk to their lender or loan officer about exploring down payment assistance programs. There is also mortgage credit certificates, which is actually another thing that many lenders can actually use to actually help borrowers offset the cost of the financing aspect of the loan. There are first-time home buyer grants offered through various counties. Some lenders have them, some lenders don't, but the first-time home buyer grants usually can be a sum of money that you can apply for. If you do qualify for it, you can utilize it towards your down payment or down payment and closing costs, depending on how much. And the main caveat here is it may be something that you have to repay when you decide to either refinance or pay off the loan. But utilizing other funds outside of what you have is definitely a way that most people can get into the home without fear of sitting on the sidelines and just watching the market go by and, get stuck paying overpaying for rent. Everyone needs to own something. So there are also rent-to-own programs out there as well. 3 popular ones is Divvy, home buyers, and home partners. Typically, the main framework of how a rent-to-own program works is once you actually register, you meet the qualifications as if you could qualify for either an FHA loan or qualify for a lease. You can actually choose a property that you'll actually start paying rent on. And usually at the end of 1 to 2 years, some cases 3 years, you have the option to actually purchase that property. Or you could actually opt to purchase a different one if you decide not to go with it. But it's a good way of actually getting someone who really needs to get a home into a house that they can try to see if it's going to fit their family needs, their affordability dynamics of their family and everything, and then matriculate into either owning that home outright or even opting to purchase another home somewhere down the road. Let's see here. Employer assistance programs. Some employers actually do assist with financing or assisting rather in getting their employees into homes. People that work for major employers may actually ask if this is a benefit, because most of the times they really don't pay attention to it, because some employers just offer so much, and most of the times they don't even realize that they can actually qualify. Firefighters, police officers, nurses, some teachers, they actually have benefits that they can actually utilize in order to qualify for some of these programs as well. So in a nutshell, those are just some of the basic areas that you could actually use to qualify for funding, or have your bars qualify for funding, I should say. Just don't leave it up to the lender saying if their finances are okay, or having a borrower feel as if they don't have 20% down, they can't buy a house, or it's too expensive because they don't have the money, because money is out there. We just have to flip those rocks over and find what lies beneath. I'll put together a presentation where I can send you like the website links and everything. So if you guys have any questions, you'll have some reference material, and you can always email me if you want to talk.
Awesome, Vlad. Thank you.
That'd be great. Aren't there some programs that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac offer in that area?
There are actually some that I have to put some more information together on.
Okay.
I know I had a client with the MCC, the mortgage credit certificate, on an FHA loan, and it was with new construction and their lender, and it was they didn't want to do it because of all the extra work it is.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and they went in, and it was USDA loan actually, because it qualified, but we had to fight for it, and we had to get them to redo all of the paperwork and reapply to the USDA with that application attached. But it's a pretty significant deal. They get real dollars back on their tax return for the interest paid up to, I don't know what, Vlad, you could probably speak to this. I think it was $1,500 or $2,000 real dollars at the end of the year when they file their tax return.
Yes. Yes.
So and it stays for the life of the loan with them in that way. So it can be pretty significant for somebody that qualifies.
I had a buyer I worked with 2 years ago. I moved her from Georgetown, bought her a home in Manor, and the lender did the down payment assistance program. I can't remember if it was the T-Shack or a different one. I can't remember the name of it. I think she had to put down $3,000 in earnest, but at the closing table, she only brought $64.
Yeah, that same client on the USDA, I think they actually got they put $500 to go under contract on new construction, and they got a check for $364 at closing. So I mean, it was because it was USDA, but yeah, it was pretty. And she came to me because she came to me in a lease situation, and when I found out she had 4 cats, I'm like, no one's going to lease to you. It's like, fortunately, she had good credit and like $25,000 saved up, so she was able to get a house, and she didn't even need the down payment. So anyway,
So
yeah, it is extra work for many lenders. They don't want to do it, but you have to find that lender that really wants to go the extra mile to help the borrower.
right.
To find every opportunity for the borrower, not just what's easiest or convenient for them, because the money is out there. And as industry professionals, we all want to pick the low-hanging fruit, but sometimes we just have to figure out what these different avenues are, and you bring more value. I mean, that's the difference of one satisfied client getting you 2 or 3 more referrals because they know they were in a tough situation and you became their hero and got them into a house when they didn't think it was possible. That goes a long way.
So I'm working with a buyer currently in that situation. It's first-time home buyer, young couple, and we're trying to do exactly that. So they just filled out their paperwork this weekend to pre-qualify. So the lender is trying to find them what's out there. So I hope that, the lender will come back with all these great options that are out there for them. But my question was, Chris and Vlad, you all were talking about, how one of your buyers got $64 back, the other one took $500 at the closing. So what was the price of like the home that they were purchasing? I'm just trying to get an idea of, in a situation like that where they may not have to, they may get money back or they have very minimal closing costs, and like approximately what value of home did they buy?
So if my memory recalls, my bar was around 310. Her purchase
Yeah.
price was around 310. And
Okay.
she brought she put like 3,000 in earnest. I'm just trying to
Right.
remember. It was 2 years ago. So I can't remember what her total closing cost was, but based off of what she qualified for at the time, it covered most of it. She put that towards her down payment and her closing cost. And that was the figure that she had to bring to the closing table.
Yeah, that's great. It's amazing.
And mine was 227,700 or something like that, and it was new construction, but it was in USDA, which is 0 down. I mean, gosh, they even got, it was a couple years ago too, but she got a 2.5% interest rate. It was crazy. And she got, I mean, they didn't have to put any money down. So USDA, you don't have, I mean, you typically they roll that into the whole loan. They'll finance 100% of it. Anyway, so that's why she got money back.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear.
And,
Of course,
but yeah, you will, I mean, ask that lender specifically about a mortgage credit certificate and
Yeah.
if they qualify. And they need to apply for it when they do either the FHA or the USDA. They need to have that send it all in one package, because if they don't send that mortgage credit certificate and it doesn't qualify, they're going to have to resubmit, and it could delay your closing if they don't do it right to begin with. So
Vlad, what is the law regarding gifts for people to receive from family members towards the purchase of a home? Is there a limit? And if there is a limit, how much is that limit?
Chris, Charles, that's a really good question. I do not know if there is a limit. I just know that you have to submit a letter, an LOE, stating where the funds are coming from. As long as you have a letter that ties into it, that's one of the things that most banks will actually ask for. But I don't remember if there's a limit or not.
Vlad, I have a question about these down payment assistance programs. Is the interest rate that of a typical borrower?
It's usually, from what I saw was, it's usually a little bit less. It's
Really?
it's a smaller sum of money that you're borrowing, because it's only like 3-4% of the purchase price, right? And it can be in 2 fashions. You can either have a forgivable portion or a non-forgivable portion. So it may either be in the form of a grant, which you don't have to repay, or it may be like a second lien that's attached to the property. So whenever you refi or sell, you have to repay that money back. So hopefully they sell when the market's high.
And Vlad, to reiterate, you made mention early on that some of these loans were qualifiers. What is I've got a young man that I put into a lease home last year, and his lease is coming up, I think, in June. he was like, man, I really hadn't improved on my credit score. So I think I'll probably end up having a lease again. What's the minimum? I mean, I've worked with one lender that said 500 and up, but they've been pounding him for 580. You got to get up to 580. He's about a 540 now, 550.
So as far as financing goes, the lowest I've seen that a lender would accept is a 580.
580. Okay.
That's untypical. I mean, if you're a VA, it's it's different rules.
Right. Right.
But FHA needs at least a 580.
Okay.
And
The same
if he
for
wants to
USD.
use the down payment assistance programs like the T-Shack or any of the ones that I've seen through the state of Texas, 620 and above.
Okay. Okay.
What are conditions that would be attached with the buyer, the borrower, that would qualify him for instance, steady jobs, income, and all of that stuff? What do they look for?
There's an income requirement, really. It's credit and income, primarily the two deciding factors.
Okay. How about self-employed?
Self-employed could qualify as well. Again, it's score and income.
How does a lender verify income on a self-employed person?
Well, they can go by bank statements, tax returns.
Okay.
I think there was about a 2-year minimum of well, not W-2, but whatever your 1099 form is from the government, IRS statements.
Yeah.
Because I know whenever I left Dell, I went to go refinance my house right before I got laid off, got caught in the layoff, and it put me back, got into real estate. Then it was one of those things where I couldn't refinance my house. So I think it's probably 2 years worth.
Yeah, typically it's 2 years residency, 2 years self-employment history at least, 2 years credit, 2 years tax returns. So those are just some of the qualifiers that most lenders look at.
Vlad, what is the easiest down payment assistance program for a buyer, a first-time buyer?
I would say T-Shack. Are you familiar with that one?
Please explain.
Texas, I always mess the acronym up. Texas Affordable Home Certificate. It's TSAHC. So it's kind of like TSAC.
The TSAHC.
C, right.
Yeah. Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation.
Yeah.
One of our talks meetings, Deborah mentioned that. So I wrote out the acronym and I went and researched it. It seemed like with that one, they take a portion when you sell the home. There's something there that happens, like they get a portion of the sales price or the profits, or
So typically they'll put the money up for you when you qualify, right? That goes to the closing table. It's on your closing disclosure where the money is coming from. Now, if it's one that you have to repay over time, when you do decide to sell the property, it's recorded like it's a second lien that's attached to the property, so you have to sell it. So that's how they get the money back.
And it isn't there like a clause in there, they hold the house for 3 or 4 years, they forgive the balance?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, something along those lines.
That's a little bit like Wheelhouse in Mueller. And I know they just released listings. And it's for first-time home buyers. And they don't have to put anything down. They get current rate, but when they go to sell it, they do have to stay in it 3 to 4 years. And when they sell it, a portion of the proceeds goes back to Wheelhouse.
interesting.
There are many different ones, like through my ABOR MLS, when I actually, and you can actually go on the down payment assistant link and actually set up a profile that will give you your own URL that you can actually copy and give it to your clients.
Oh,
And
wow.
whenever you go to that web page, it's kind of like a landing page in essence. And it takes them into the down payment assistance programs. Once they put in an address, it will tell them all the programs that are available within that area. I've seen as many as 25 different programs that would include regular down payment assistance, plus the MCC mortgage credit, plus a whole different bunch of things that they can actually apply for. When you click on each one, it gives you the breakdown of the actual criteria and requirements that you need to qualify for. So if you have that DPA link that shows up on your MLS, click on it, play around with it, go fill out the profile, get the URL. You could probably even, and I got to find out about this, see if it's actually something that you could probably put on like your KV core as a widget. You know, that's probably something that you could do too. I don't know for sure.
Did you
But
call it the EPA link?
DPA, down payment assistance.
Oh, DPA. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Do you
Yeah.
have to have an address for a
Yeah,
house?
when you click on the landing page, it's going to ask you to see if if the home's eligible. You put in the address 123 Main Street, and it will tell you all the down payment assistance programs that are available around that house.
Don't you have to disclose in an offer that it's through a down payment assistance program?
Good question. I do not know. I don't remember.
You might now because we have to define cash.
Mhm.
Right.
But that's a good question, man.
That's a good question. I got to find out about that. I can't remember if we did or not on the last transaction.
I've done one and we had to disclose it. So going to that link won't really help somebody unless they're already under contract, right?
Well, it would from the standpoint if I want to buy a home on 123 Main Street and I'm trying to figure out all my numbers and I'm short on money, are there programs in that area that I can apply for that will help me to qualify for? Does that help my affordability getting into this home? So it acts as a good research tool because at that point, if it says, for example, the T-Shack is available, this is the criteria that I need, these are the requirements, I'm going to go to my lender and say, hey, Chris, I saw that this program is available for this home. Can we use this along with the money that I have saved up? Will this help my case in making it more affordable for me to buy this home on 123 Main Street? Then Chris has to go ahead and put the application in after you're on a contract.
Can that address change if you go into, so if I create a link for my buyer, and I've got one right now who's would love this. He and she, they're both financial people. We just pick up an address that's okay for them, and can they change that address if they want to?
Absolutely. You can just go in and put whatever address you in. You're checking to see if the address is eligible
Okay.
and what programs are available within a radius respective to that home address.
Can they, the buyers, play around with that and change it
Absolutely.
once you've created it?
Absolutely. I do it all the time.
Great. Thank you.
Well, that's
And it
interesting.
sends you an email too, that John Brown was actually looking at qualifying for down payment assistance on that address. So you know, and you'll see the breakdown of the programs and all the criteria as well. So if he calls you up and he wants to talk to you, you can say, oh yeah, I got a notification that you were looking at this. And oh well, I have a question on this program I saw. Okay, great. Let me go ahead and go through the criteria with you.
I think maybe, and when you get your link with your name attached to it, to the ABOR, it doesn't have a specific address. Correct me if I'm wrong. And
No,
then
it doesn't.
And then you send that link to your client, whom will put in whatever address that they're on, whatever property they're looking for. And that way, so your link will stay the same for every client. And
Right.
your client will put in whatever address they are interested in looking at, and then you'll get a notification to Vlad's point about what, what address they're looking at. I think, is that help clear that up?
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Okay,
So that's on ABOR website, is that correct, Vlad? You go to ABOR website
Correct.
and
Correct,
look
correct.
for the down payment assistance program.
Yeah, right before you go into the MLS, it's on one of those little boxes right there with RPR and
Got it.
that's green. And there is down payment assistance through almost every state. It's a part of their budget. So money is out there.
And people want to
We
give
just-
it.
We just have to know where it is so we can point buyers in the right direction.
Vlad, is there a place people can go to find where that money is, or does the lender have to do that?
So lenders typically know about these programs. A lot of times they don't like doing them because it's extra work. You can go to FHA. You can go to HUD website. You can look through your state and see what programs what programs are available. Those are some of the sources that I've used over the years to figure out where these things are. But I'm also going to send out some links with some different websites that you guys can play around with in your spare time and kind of familiarize yourself with some of what's out there. That
That'd
way
be
you can
great.
kind of flash track to the information.
That'd be great, Vlad, if you could do
Yep.
that, send us all of those.
Yeah,
links.
I'll share what I found with everybody. So
Okay,
you don't have to spend all the time that I did.
yes, thank you,
I
Vlad.
invested the
Awesome.
time for you guys.
thank you, Vlad.
Hey, that link is great information. I had no idea it was there.
Any other questions for Vlad? Guys,
Mhm.
great presentation, Vlad. Thank you. I'm gonna